You're watching Let the Quran Speak, and now we answer your questions. If you have a question, visit our website, quranspeaks.com. Dr. Shabir, the question is, I truly feel that Islam is the truth compared to other religions. What makes me hesitant to accept Islam is the fact that I can't reconcile a just and merciful creator damning a certain group of his creation to eternal hell. The teacher at the mosque near me couldn't put my mind to ease and insisted that only Muslims will be saved. I can agree that sins must be paid for because God's justice demands it, but will not his mercy be shown after justice is done? Can you please give me some guidance as this weighs heavily on my heart?
Yeah, okay. So I think there are two aspects of this question, Safia, that we need to address. One is, do non-Muslims automatically go to hell? And two is hell permanent, or the tortures therein, will that be everlasting? As for the first part of that question, do non-Muslims automatically go to hell? Well, this is what has been traditionally mentioned in Islamic sermons, written in Islamic books, and so on. But when we go back to trace the roots of this into the Quran, we find that the Quran actually tells us that God is merciful, and it does not seem to accord with God's mercy that, as the questioner is pointing out, whole swaths of people are just going to be thrown into hell for apparently, from our perspective at least, no fault of their own. Somebody is born in let's say in South America, where in a region where Catholicism is prominent, and they happen to be Catholic. Somebody's born in India, where Hinduism is prominent. But people, a lot of times, people seem to be just simply a product of their environments.
Muslims included.
And Muslims included, right? Somebody's born in Saudi Arabia, most likely that person is a Muslim. Why would God, this is what makes it difficult for people to understand. Like, why would God just simply cause a person to be in hell forever, just due to the circumstances of their birth? And one might come back to this and say, well, wait a minute, the truth is clear. They had an intellect given by God, and they should have exercised that intellect. And just like they went to school to study math and English and so many other subjects, other languages too, why didn't they fulfill their part by learning about who their creator is? But the fact of the matter is that people are still shaped by their environments. If somebody is growing up in communist China, somebody is born in an atheist environment, that person may likely be an atheist, and so on. So the same sorts of questions do not arise in the minds of everyone, or they come, as flashes, and then they get overwhelmed by other thoughts which are more important to the persons at the time. So given the realities that we notice, we have to find a solution to this. Like, how do we reconcile the belief in the mercy of God, which is so emphasized in the Quran again and again, with the traditional idea that people are just simply, put in hell if they happen to be non-Muslims? Well, we go back to the Quran and we see that the Quran actually does have a certain breadth of allowance here. For example, in Surah 2, verse number 62, we read in the Arabic, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَالَّذِينَ هَادُوا وَالنَّصَارَى وَالصَّابِئِينَ مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا فَلَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ وَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. As for those who believe, an apparent reference to the Muslim community, وَالَّذِينَ هَادُوا, those who have been Judaized, وَالنَّصَارَى, and the Nazarenes, an obvious reference to the Christians, وَالصَّابِئِينَ, probably followers of John the Baptist, مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. Now, this fifth group, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَالَّذِينَ هَادُوا وَالنَّصَارَى وَالصَّابِئِينَ مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. This fifth group is general. It says, whoever believes in God and does good deeds. This is a very, very general statement. Whoever. So it could be, after listing these four different religious groups, now there is a general statement about people. If they believe in God and they do good deeds, لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. No fear shall come upon them, nor shall they grieve, meaning in the life hereafter. We have scope for thinking that God is going to judge people according to the circumstances in which they find themselves. Now, of course, if the Islamic message is presented to to them with a certain degree of clarity and persuasiveness, then God will judge them based on that. The Quran in Surah 5 verse number 48 says, لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ فِيمَا آتَاكُمْ, so that he may test you according to what has come to you. Not everybody has the same level of intelligence. Not everybody has been exposed to the message of truth in the same degree. So to the degree that people have been exposed to that message, that is the degree to which they are going to be held responsible by God. And now, the other part of the question is about the permanence of hell. Qayyim Al-Jawziyyah, one of our famous scholars from the Middle Ages, wrote a book entitled Hadi al-Arwah ila Bilad al-Afrah, urging the souls towards the land of happiness, or to the lands of happiness. In that book, he goes into detail showing that hell could not be permanent. He gives 25 reasons, but many of the reasons are repetitive or different aspects of the same reason. We can narrow that down to a few basic thoughts. First of all, in the Quran, mostly when hell and heaven are spoken about, there's a contrast. Hell is shown to be of limited duration, whereas heaven is shown to be permanent. For example, when mentioning heaven in the Surah 11, God says it is a gift that will never be cut off, whereas when mentioning hell, the same emphasis is not given. In Surah 98, which is called Al-Bayyinah, which many Muslims have memorized by heart, it speaks about those who will be in Jannah, in paradise, and it says Khalidina fiha abada. They will be therein forever. Like abada is a word that's used to emphasize that. Whereas when hell is mentioned, it just simply says Khalidina. It doesn't say abada. So you can see a contrast there. When hell is mentioned in the 78th chapter of the Quran, it is said ahqaba. It will last for ages, which means that it's not eternity, because eternity cannot be cut up into ages. It's an eternal duration. So there are indications in the Quran itself that hell may not be as permanent as people think. There is a verse in Surah Al-Jinn that uses the term abada when mentioning hell, but then it says whoever disobeys God and his messenger will be in hell forever. And everyone agrees, at least among Muslim commentators, that just merely disobeying God and his messenger is not going to land the Muslim in hell forever. Being a Muslim would mean that though one is disobedient, one would still have only a limited duration of punishment and eventually be put into paradise. So there are many good reasons for believing that hell will not be permanent, and just being a non-Muslim does not automatically mean that the person will be in hell. It depends on what level of knowledge and intellect that person had. That person will be held responsible. Only God can be the judge of that individual.
All right, Dr. Shabir, I hope your answer gives this person confidence to consider Islam more carefully.
I hope so. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Muslim Media Hub, the new home of Let the Quran Speak.
Here we spread positivity and good. We help people experience the beauty of Islam and help them appreciate and understand Muslims.
This beautiful building we purchased at cost $2.3 million.
Yeah, we've already raised a third of that money, and with your help, inshallah, we can pay off the rest.
So we're looking for people who can give $1,000 each. If you can be part of the select group, that's amazing.
Otherwise, just please give whatever you can. Every dollar counts.
It's our collective responsibility to share the message of Islam with our fellow human beings. Please help us continue this good work.
It's a sadaqah jariyah, something that will continue to be a benefit to the Muslim community long after Safiya and I are gone.
Please support our work at muslimmediahub.com.
Your support is zakat eligible and tax deductible.
May Allah bless you and your loved ones today and always. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.